Please welcome Britney Logan.
Thank you all for coming out today. It's really great to see so many people that share the same ideologies, getting together and networking and talking about all of our different cases for liberty. I'm going to be here to talk to you about my favorite thing on this planet, economics, and more specifically capitalism. We see here that Milton Friedman, who's one of the greatest thinkers of our time before, underlying most arguments against the free market is a lack of belief in freedom itself. You can't have free markets without freedom. And that includes regulations, which we'll get into later. So what exactly is free trade? Well, it's voluntarily done. Both parties have to be benefited, so it's mutually beneficial. Has to be done between individuals, and each individual works in their self-interest. For example, say I have a Coke and Steve has $1. I want that dollar more than this Coke. Steve wants that Coke more than $1. We trade. It's beneficial. It's voluntary. We don't have the state come in to say, Steve needs this Coke, Brittany, so you're going to have to do that and be put in prison. So it's voluntary, mutually beneficial interactions and transactions between individuals working in their self-interest. Then we have people that want to essentially plan things. So like a faceless bureaucrat in Washington says, you have to buy X, this is going to be taxed this. If you're a business, you're running your business this way. We're going to, if we just have like a really smart group of people, they can plan all of this out, the economy out, and everything's going to be perfect, and we don't have to worry about that scary free market stuff. Well, our argument is that it's not human design that makes the economy so efficient, it's human action. Whenever Einstein came up with a theory of relativity, he wasn't sanctioned to do that by some government bureaucrat. He did it on his own time, his own human action. And then we get into knowledge and society. Hayek wrote a paper in 1945 called The Uses of Knowledge in Society, and there he talks about the differences between human action and centrally planning. Basically what he says is that each of us as individuals all have a certain amount of knowledge. I know things that none of y'all in here else know. You all know things that I don't know. And nobody knows what everybody else knows. Everybody has different pieces of knowledge to themselves as an individual. But on top of that, within that time and within that place and with that circumstance. So with all of that knowledge that is so diverse among individuals, there's no way that even if we have the smartest, nicest, most benevolent group of people in Washington, D.C. to plan all this stuff out, there's no way that they would be able to acquire all of that knowledge and put it into use effectively in order to make the market efficient or get the best results from everyone otherwise making voluntary exchanges between each other. Which kind of goes into spontaneous order, which basically is a theory that things will just naturally arise. Like Steve here, he wrote an article here recently about SKU numbers, like barcodes. There wasn't a bureaucrat in Washington that was like, it'd be an awesome idea, barcodes. Like, no, that didn't happen. What happened was all these businesses decided, hey, it'd be a great idea if we had some system that we could connect all of our products to each other, keep the same prices together. We could, instead of having to go through and change stickers every now and then and spend hours and hours and hours and dollars wasted on that, we can have a barcode that changes all this. SKU numbers to keep products in line, scan it. Hey, Walmart over in California has it. No, all of these businesses got together and they formulated this to show that, or to make it easier on each other. And so that spontaneously arose. I don't trust a politician in Washington, D.C. to come up with that like he has a law degree. No, he doesn't know what's best for businesses. And then also free markets inspire innovation or foster innovation. Like with Einstein's theory of relativity that I mentioned earlier, or even SKU numbers, whenever people are free to think and compete and aren't restricted by government regulations or anything like that, they come up with new and better ideas. And that gets into intellectual property and stuff like that. True. And whenever you foster innovation, everybody else is better off. So I can't imagine anyone's like going to hate innovation. So you can't do that without free markets. And greed. Whenever you admit that you're a capitalist, everybody's always like, you're greedy, you're a pig, and you are just scum of the earth. Like, I actually am a big fan of greed. It's not all that bad, actually. Some other words that could be used for greed, I think people get the terms mixed up in their heads maybe, is people working in their own self-interest and profit motive. If you're working in your own self-interest, it's not a bad thing for me to want to buy some lemonade. But I'm thirsty, that would quench my thirst, I'm working my self-interest by buying that lemonade. Or if one of you wanted to sell me that lemonade, you value the dollar that I would give you for that lemonade more than the lemonade. So you're working in your self-interest by trying to sell me the lemonade. So whenever we exchange, we're both working in our self-interest. You're not greedy for wanting $1, but some people might say you are because you're not giving it for charity. You didn't give it out of the kindness of your heart. But if you're forced to give out of the kindness of your heart, it kind of takes the kindness of your heart thing out of it. And then that comes in with selflessness and utility. So like with charity and stuff like that, and being selflessness, or being selfless, like whenever people do give to charity, you can be selfless, you can do all this stuff. But what you get, it's not working in your self-interest, is what people will tell you, but it actually is at the end of the day. Because while, say I donate everybody in here a glass of lemonade, oh, I'm so selfless, I'm so charitable. Well, yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, the utility, or that's kind of a fancy economic term for warm fuzzy feelings, the utility that I get from that is greater than the cost of me distributing all that lemonade. I get something out of it. I'm working my self-interest by helping everybody else out, because that's worth more to me than charging everyone $1 for it or whatever. And with free market economics, obviously comes free trade. Just as you and I as individuals should be able to freely trade among each other, we should also be able to trade with people in other countries and other states and anyone else without any different types of barriers to trade, like tariffs or regulations or sanctions or whatever else, because that's not really truly free trade. If I want to buy a car from a guy in Japan for $50,000, that would cost $100,000 here in America, I should be able to buy that from him, because he wants my money, I want that car. We're not hurting anyone, we're not infringing on anyone else's rights. So there's no reason for the government to come in and be like, we're going to add $120,000 to that car, whatever, just random numbers. But so whenever you try to protect things like, I'm sure everybody in here has heard about, oh, buy American, buy American, buy American. That's great if you want to. It's a lot more expensive. But with free trade and the globalization of free trade, all of our goods end up being cheaper. And everything is relative, like in another country. For example, people say, oh, they get paid a penny a day, and that's just horrible. They don't get paid a penny a day. But they also, that's better than starting on the street. So they're better off, we're better off because we get cheaper goods. If you want to pay more for American-made goods, then you should be free to do that as well. But don't force me to, and don't make their products more expensive for me to do that, because that's not very fair. So just a quick little fun thing. Who said this quote? UCA. Yeah, awesome. Okay. He's pretty much my favorite ever. If y'all haven't read it, you should probably read The Law by him, which is awesome. He's really sarcastic, and it's hilarious, because you don't expect it to be sarcastic. But so how do we apply free market principles to ourselves today? There's various different things. We've kind of talked about taxes and regulation already. Taxes don't increase with taxes to run a business, because it makes it harder for me to do business, it makes it hard for me to hire people. It just makes everything all around more difficult, makes the prices go up, just bad situation. So you don't really have free trade. Regulations, you can't do this, you have to wear this, you have to implement this rule, you have to have this safety regulation. It's not really free trade, like you're taking the freedom out of it. And another one is say minimum wage. Sure, well, I don't know, I know some of you in here have, if you're in our Yale chapter, have watched Milton Friedman talk about minimum wage. Well, everybody, your first emotional response is, minimum wage is a great thing, otherwise these evil, greedy corporations would just charge people, or just pay people 50 cents, per day for all of their work, where that's not really the case, because the corporation or the employer will pay you for your productivity. It's the price of labor. But whenever you institute a minimum wage, it's essentially essentially a ban on jobs that are worth less than that. So say there's a 14-year-old kid out on a gas station, he wants to come in and sweep my floors for $5 an hour. I can afford $5, I can't afford higher than that. He wants to work for me, I want him to work for me, $5 an hour is great. All of a sudden we can't do it, because it's against the law, even though it's voluntary interaction between two people. Another thing is things like birth control and guns. You have the conservatives or the Republicans that generally tend to want to regulate things like birth control, and you have the left that wants to regulate things like guns. They're both products. They're both something that is being traded for something else. So let individuals buy what they want. You don't have to make laws that restrict either of those things, because that inhibits free trade, and in the end everyone loses. With Obamacare, for example, that compares perfectly with drugs, and more specifically marijuana. You have people on the right that will say, don't, government can't come in here and take or force me to buy anything. They can't make me, make me purchase health insurance. It's my body, it's my choice, and all this stuff. But then as soon as you say, hey, we're thinking about legalizing medical marijuana, they're, oh no, we can't do that. All of a sudden the government has to come in and regulate what you put in your body. So, and it flips like that as well for, people on the left. They're all about legalizing marijuana, but not healthcare. Just free trade. People will work it out. I have confidence that I can make better decisions for myself than, anyone else in here, or especially anyone else I've never met before that is a professional politician. Just not going to happen. Then free markets. You can start talking about intellectual property. That goes hand in hand with innovation. Whenever you place things like patents and copyrights and stuff on intellectual property, there's tons of different arguments. Our Yale chapter's been arguing or debating about it for months now. But whenever you're putting restrictions on those things, and you're basically granting those people a monopoly on that property. So I'm sure you've all heard about the lawsuits going around between Apple and Samsung, like, oh, we're copyrighting or patenting rounded corners and a little button on the end. No, whenever you do that, you're hindering innovation and also competition, because they can make another product better, but they don't get to do it because it's copyrighted, and they get to sit on that copyright for 25, 50, 75 years, and however long after they die. So it actually hurts more than it helps, and it's intended to help. And let's see, there's another point about intellectual property I was wanting to make. Oh, and the money that you spend on going to court and going to law, or filing lawsuits, or filing your patent fees, and doing all these fees and extra time that you're spending, even like working on it or thinking about it. That's all resources, time, money that could have gone into research and development, into creating newer and better products, instead of fighting your competitors for a technology that might be obsolete in a few years. And we can pretty much apply free markets to anything, but kind of running out of time, so that'll be it. Thank you guys for your attention, and if you have any questions, feel free to take this time.